Yeah. So a ton of people have asked for the actual build showcase that you've been seeing for this build that I'm using in all my recent videos. And, in the spirit of Christmas I figured I'd drop it. So, this build itself has the potential to be incredibly strong. It is a good build, but I have made it as a joke. And, like, midway through the progression, that's when I realized how min-maxed it could be and just how powerful the build can be. So it's obviously a Storm's Eye, Scrap Singer, Thunder Call build. Alright. Now, I want the default Thunder Call, normal, because I like the extra hit stun. It works better because it allows me to land Caltrops way more efficiently. But if you want, you can go Surge Path. So the whole point behind this build is essentially to whittle down your opponent. And then, once they're as low as possible, or as weak as possible, is when you strike with super hard-hitting Thunder Call mantras. Of course, with Scrap Singer, you hit them like 3 or 4 times, they've already lost half their armor. The goal for this build is really to play incredibly passive, poke them with Needle Barrage, zone them with Caltraps, throw out those long-range Storm's Eye M1s, and then once they've lost a shit ton of armor and they're way less tanky, that's when you go in and you start to close in on them with your long range, or your short range Thunder Call attacks. So for the actual pre-shrine of this build, the stats, I did 90 Fortitude, 30 Willpower, 100 Iron Sing. So obviously that's getting reinforced armor, and then with the Iron Sing you get all the talents, so Phantom's Edge, Alloy Blood, everything. For this build, I did kind of mess up. I got the Iron Sing path where after 5 rods, whatever elemental effect that opponent has is reflected to them. For example, if I have 5 rods stacked on a curved user and they try to use Gale Lunge or something, it'll proc and they'll become suffocated. So in that event, it's really good. But for everyone else, like Flame Charm, it just sets them on fire. Surge Path, it just procs a single surge tick. In certain situations, it's really powerful. In most, it's pretty mid. I would recommend just Impaler, where you pull out the rods for extra damage. That's going to do a whole hell of a lot more. Then, post-run, you put a point into Strength, a point into Agility, a point into Intelligence, a point into Charisma, a point into Thunder Call, point into Medium. Now, that was just a kind of throwaway, fuck it build. I'll throw up on screen, the before Shrine and after Shrine stats that you could go that would make this significantly stronger. Regardless, this build is very powerful. I'll slowly go over the talents here. The Authority Commander talents are especially good for your tankiness. Now, I don't have it on myself. I'm just using Justicar because I'm lazy. But, where is it? Here we go. Resolve Crusher. Lightning moves now have a chance to apply Electrified to your effect. Attacks from electrified opponents are converted into lightning damage and will deal 10% less damage to you. This is incredibly powerful if you have the right armor, which is the Ferryman's armor that gives you a 50% essentially reduction to Thunder Call. So what happens is every time you electrify somebody, let's say they hit you with an Eclipse Kick, that gets converted into Thunder Call, which does 10% less, and since it's Thunder Call, it procs your Ferryman's Cloak. It's like 60% less. You're incredibly tanky. Now, I don't have that because, again, I'm lazy, but that's one key part of the build. I'll slowly go over the talents here. You can, slow it down if you want. Charm is just a must-have on every build. You take 10% less, you do 10% more. You've got to have it. Alloy Blood is a must-have. Even after the nerfs, it's a crazy reduction against bleed damage. So, Kamas, Daggers, Evan Spear. It's really good to have. And we just go down. Now, I do have the Link talents, the Static Link, which they aren't bad. While tethered, you do less, or your moves take less ether. Lightning Stream procs faster. If you have 2 tethers, they get magnetized and go together. And then Flourishing or Uppercutting creates a link where your stun lasts for 1.5 times as long. Which is really good, actually, especially with uppercuts. Which I don't really think that these are necessary on the build. The 15 intelligence required kind of makes it, meh. It's just not my favorite, So that's that. And then I'm going to jump into Chime real quick, and I'm going to sort of narrate my thought process and explain the best way you could use the build. Alright, I'll see y'all there. So this match is against another Storm's Eye, which made it a little interesting. And I'm not going to lie, I'm selling at the start here. I'm selling at the start. But I collect myself, and I kind of chill out. Especially for this, you should be spamming your Storm's Eye crit as much as possible. It scales insanely well with Scrap Singer, because there's like 2 different Scrap Singer talents that proc with hitting your critical, and every single like hit or every single shot from your Storm's Eye crit counts as one like crit, if that makes sense. Like if you have a crit talent that procs every time you critical, each shot is gonna proc that talent. So that's what you should be doing. I'm sort of just like zoning him out, keeping my distance. You're gonna want to use Caltraps and Needle Barrage as much as possible. Caltraps especially can do a ton of damage if you actually land the full hit on them. Regardless, it's really good for zoning. A lot of people will walk into it without even realizing. And then Needle Barrage does good damage. You're able to use it from range. It also throws you into the air, so it can honestly be used as an attack and a solid dodge. And it's just getting a lot of needles on them to begin with. I do have Metal Barrage, or not Metal Barrage, I have Metal Ball as a sort of gap closer, and also a little bit of mobility. It helps in the overworld. But you can see, I'm trying to use Caltraps when I know I have the best chance of hitting them. So that is going to be immediately after I land a hit, so I have hit stun, or I force a roll. Typically, after you force a roll, a player is going to try and use a long-range mantra on you, so that's the best time to use it. As they're trying to cast a mantra, your Caltraps are already flying at them. It's going to be perfect. In terms of Metal Ball, the best time to use that is when a player rolls backwards to create space. A lot of times they'll either try to reinforce or just try and like reset, collect themselves, and slow down the pace of combat. It's pretty simple. You see here, you just keep your distance and spam, essentially. You're just going to keep spamming Caltraps, keep spamming your long range shot, keep spamming Needle Barrage, and then later in the fight, once I know that this guy's armor is almost completely depleted, that's when I start running in and getting way more aggressive. An easy combo for this build is straight up just Thunder Kick into Needle Barrage. A lot of times you get that guard break, which will secure you all 3 rods hitting. If you have Impaler, that's especially good, because immediately after that you can rip out. That's at least a bar and a half guaranteed there. Almost true combo. Another easy one is just Thunder Kick right into Radiant Kick. A lot of people don't expect it because, you know, Radiant Kick, Dan Walker, it's the mantras and the Oak's kind of busted. But that's really it. I'm just going to let this fight play out, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this build. It was, I genuinely enjoy playing it. This is probably my best build I ever made. Peace out.